doing? So, I am starting a reading vlog that's all like paranormal books or monster books, all that stuff that's kind of like more spooky season vibes. So, I tried getting into this other series. Ended up DNFing it. I wasn't feeling it. But then I got into this series. And man, I will say I am a huge fan of the graphic audio. Graphic audio, it's like a movie in your head. It says a movie in your mind kind of thing. It's literally a movie in your head. There are like how many cast of characters, like a full cast of narrators, and then you can hear like footsteps and music and screaming and whatever the scene is. It's so like crazy because it's so like in your head, and I can totally see these characters in my head. And oh man, it's really interesting. The music plays, all that. So I ended up listening to Halfway to the Grave. This is Janine Frost. This is a part of the Huntress series. So this one here has it to where this totally reminds me of like 3 different things. I totally see Buffy and Spike with this series. Buffy and Spike. If you ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there was people who loved her relationship with Angel, and I did love her with Angel. But I will say, her with Angel, it was more of like romantic, and more of like, yeah, it definitely was more of a romance, like he romanced her. But with Spike, he challenged her. Spike totally challenged her. There were some things that were kind of toxic when you look back at that series. There were some toxic things. But I really liked her relationship with Spike a lot more than Angel. Yeah. So this one here, we have Catherine. Catherine is a half vampire. Her mother was sexually assaulted and got pregnant. Now, you think that it's a bit impossible because vampires can't get, humans pregnant. But the guy was newly sired. He was newly turned into a vampire. So he still had swimmers still in his system. Obviously, sperm, can live outside the body for a little while. And so that's essentially what happened. So Catherine is the result of sexual assault. That's what her mother says. He says otherwise, the father, because we end up getting to know the father in the series. But this one here, she starts becoming a vampire hunter. And that's why I said she kind of reminds me of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. And so she's very much a human. She eats, she doesn't like take in blood, where in the series Blade, he very much was, even though he was like a day walker and he can walk during the day, he needed blood to survive, where she doesn't need blood to survive. So she ends up going out one night and she runs into this guy named Bones. Bones is a vampire. Now he ends up training her to kill vampires. He's basically a bounty hunter, like he doesn't care if he kills, vampires, even though he's a vampire himself. He's been a vampire for like, I'd say at least 200 to 400 years. I think so. So he's almost a master vampire at this point. Like he has a lot of abilities, and you end up finding out during the series the amount of abilities he has. So he ends up like taking on Catherine and trains her, and in the whole story of him training her, they fall for each other. And so I really enjoyed this first book right here. I gave it 5 stars. This was really good. I really enjoyed this a lot. It really kept me like, it wasn't just a romance, but it also was this high action story. If you're looking for, like, there's a YouTuber I know, she loves bloodlust. If you're looking for bloodlust, this is the one. She kills a lot of vampires, she's a badass. I really like her, even though she is flawed, and that's fine with me. I don't want a woman who's perfect. I definitely want to see a heroine with flaws, and she definitely does have flaws in here. But man, I really enjoyed this one. I will say the only thing I'm not a fan of is I don't like her mother. I don't like her mother. I was not a fan of her. And Bones, oh my God, I'm obsessed with Bones, especially because the guy who does the voice of Bones, man, he's got a hot voice, and his laugh and everything. Oh my God, I can just picture this man, the character of Bones. Now, his real name is Crispin Russell. And so it ends up having like a kind of cliffhanger here, because what happens is that her and Bones end up being separated. So we got the ending of that one, and then it delves into the second book here, where it ends up being like 4 years later, and she hasn't seen Bones. She has taken on an alias, and she's now working with the FBI. And so she's working with this like team where they're like basically vampire hunters and all that stuff. And so during her cases, she ends up running into Bones. He ends up finding her. And so it's their continuation of their romance and their story. And I really enjoyed this one too. I gave this one 5 stars as well. I really enjoyed this. And so you get to know a little bit more of like the vampire world and like her company and everything, and different things that maybe her company, FBI is kind of keeping from her, to say that. There's definitely a lot more bloodlust in here, just killing a bunch of vampires and things like that, like massacre, of these vampires. So, and like I said, she's definitely a badass character. She's definitely a favorite character of mine. When it comes to like heroines, she's definitely like in my top 5 of like favorite like heroines, she's great. And so she ends up taking on an alias in here. And you get to know a reason why she took on that alias and different things like that. She's had to change her hair color, because in the first one she had red hair that very much matched her father's. And in the second book, in this one here, she ended up cutting her hair real short and like dyeing it brown. And then in this third one now, we have it to where she's still working with the FBI, but there's other things that are going on. And obviously, more of the vampire world and more of like different other things that are happening. And, her and Bones, the relationship is progressing, and things like that. I've gotten through like, the way they have it for the audiobooks, this says chapter 1, chapter 2, even though they're not by chapters. That first chapter, you're at least getting through like 4 chapters in this book. The other thing I would say about these audiobooks, the graphic audiobooks, is there's a little bit difference in the audiobooks compared to the books. Like the dialogue in here, in the normal books here, there's a little less dialogue and more internal dialogue. That internal dialogue that's in these novels is, speech dialogue. So they ended up taking some of the internal dialogue and turning into speech dialogue for the audiobooks. And I'd say these audiobooks, I'm flying past these audiobooks. Now, this one here is, of course, the 3rd book. There's another book in the series that's the 4th book that I'll be getting through in this vlog. But after that, I don't know if I'm going to take a break from it or not. I may take a break from this series because there's other audiobooks that need to come out for this series that they haven't been out yet. I don't know how long that takes. I don't know if I'm going to stop right now and then go on to another series and listen to those audiobooks, because there's how many audiobooks for this other series that I was going to listen to. So I may end up doing that. I may end up like just stopping for now and then seeing if maybe next year, if they'll have more audiobooks for this series. I really enjoy the audiobooks a lot. I don't know. It depends. I may end up physically reading them just to finish off the series, but I may end up going back to like the audiobooks when another one comes out, because I've really been enjoying these graphic audiobooks. They're so fascinating to me, and listening to the voices and all this stuff. But yeah, this one here, it's like, it's all a continuous story of these characters. And it's not just a romance, because there's plenty of, if you're looking for spice, there's plenty of spice in the books, but it's not to the point where it's overtaken the story. Like, you have a lot of action that's going on in these books. And that's the thing I appreciate. And maybe because this is an older series, where this first book here, I think it came out in like 2007 or something. Yeah, 2007, this first book came out. So you're talking, this is over 10 years ago that this first book came out. But this is a really interesting story. Like I said, if you're into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if you're into True Blood, because it kind of reminds me a bit of True Blood as well. If you're into the Blade series, because she's a half vampire, that type of thing. So vampires don't know that she's a half vampire. They just know, like, the one thing they notice about her is her skin is pretty flawless. Like, she doesn't have any imperfections in her skin. She also ages at a slower rate than other people, than regular humans. Like, in this first book, she's like 20, or maybe it's second book, she's like 28 or 27, and she ends up finding out that she has slowed down with her aging. And also other things play in that fact too. Like, you end up finding out throughout the series, other things come into play. But this series right here is like, I'm really enjoying this series. I'm really enjoying this. And then, yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if I want to stop and wait for the other audiobooks to come out, or if I just want to be like, you know what, I'm still enjoying it. Let's just kind of continue on. I may end up like, continuing on. It all depends on like how motivated I could stay with like the series and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I'm reading a Kindle book, but I'm kind of like slowly getting through that one, because I kind of read that at night and I'm not reading it for that long before I end up zonking out. So that one I'm getting through slower, but I'm getting past these audiobooks like super quick, because I'll sit there like at my table in my living room, and I'll sit there and I'm painting like my little paint by numbers to kind of help with my stress. And while I'm, painting, I'm listening to this audiobook. So I'm like, I can kind of like do two things at once, But yeah, this is a really good series. I'm going to see how far I can kind of go before I'm like, okay, I need to take a break kind of thing. Because sometimes I have to take breaks when it comes to series. I can't keep going. And then I'm going to see how far I kind of get with like other books in this vlog. I don't want this vlog to be like too long, but it may end up being like an hour. I don't know. It all depends on how many books I can kind of get through when it comes to like, paranormal. So there's a couple of books I want to read from Teresa Medeiros, this month, and try to see about getting through that. I might make this vlog maybe like a 2-week vlog. I don't know. So it may end up being like over an hour. It all depends on like how many books I can kind of like get through. And if you want to sit through that, I'm not sure. But anyways, that's as far as I've gotten in these books. Like I said, I'm on right now, I'm on like chapter 5 for this book here. And yeah, every chapter in the audiobook is at least like an hour. So I can sit there and listen to like 2 or 3 hours of a book. I got through like this book here in like a day and a half, because I was just listening to the audiobook. So it's the same thing with this one. I could probably get through this one like pretty quick. So I'd say once I finish off the 4th book in this series, I'll update and say like how I feel, and if I want to continue on with maybe just physically reading them, or if it'd be like, you know what, I'll take a break and then see about, waiting for the other ones. We'll see. But anyways, I'll update you all later and tell you how far I got. Okay, update. So I finished off book 4, so Destined for an Early Grave, and man, I thought book 3, the way book 3 ended, there was a character death in here. I'm not gonna say who, but there was a character death in here, and I was like, man, the author did that character dirty in this one. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no, why'd you have to kill off that character? And there was a couple other ones too that were like, that died in here, and I was just like, aw, man, I liked those characters too. So yeah, there's some character deaths in that one. And then in this one, oh my god, I was just like, no. It was another character death, and I'm just like, no, I liked that character. So I am really just like, oh, I'm sad. I'm kind of upset because there was a character in there I really liked, and man, I did not like Catherine's mom. Her name's Justina. I did not like her at all in book 1 and 2. But man, the way the author has created this storyline and the characters, I feel sympathy for Catherine. I really do. I feel sympathy for the woman. The amount of stuff that she has gone through in this whole series right now. The amount of stuff that poor woman has gone through. And I'm like, I feel so bad with it. But this was an interesting one because you have where this vampire is invading her dreams. And that was interesting because it basically put like her and Bones' relationship kind of like to the test and everything. And that made it kind of like, oh, I was really kind of like, there was a part in the book where I was like, oh, this is like so, I was almost gonna cry because I'm like, this is so heartbreaking because like the stuff that they were going through, in this book. And I was just like, oh. But I'm pretty much like tapped out on these audiobooks right now because, for one, I've reached my limit where they won't let me like listen to any more audiobooks until like the 4th. And so I'm like, oh, great. So I have to wait to listen to more audiobooks. But also, there's no more audiobooks like this one here. There's no audiobooks for this book here, which is book 5. So it means I'm gonna have to physically read it. So it's gonna take me a little longer to read because, I'm not as, I can listen to an audiobook way quicker than I can, read a physical book. But I'm hoping that this one will be just as good, and so I can go and pretty much get into like this one real easy and kind of like fly through it. At least I hope. This one's a glossy one. You could see the glossy, where the other ones are kind of like, they're more matte. I don't know why they made this one glossy. But yeah. So this one here is, the 4th book. And then after this one, there's 2 others, I think. Yeah, I think I got 3 books left. So once I pretty much want to, my child's looking at me weird. Stop looking at me. So once, I want to get through this series because I don't want to wait until the next year to see if there's more audiobooks. Like, I'll listen to like any more audiobooks that come out, like basically like I'll read, like almost like rereading. But I really want to finish off this series because I'm enjoying myself a lot with this series. I was not expecting me to enjoy this series as much as I am. And then also I want to delve into the basically the spin-off. I want to delve into the spin-off because there are other characters that I really enjoy in this series besides Cat and Bones. Like, there's a character called Ian. I like Ian, even though he's a bit of a jackass, but I like him. And then Vlad. I freaking love Vlad. I definitely want to go and, like, check out his story. I can't remember if Ian has a story. Ian might have a story. And then also Mancarys. I like Mancarys. I definitely want to read Mancarys' story. And he has a story. I definitely want to delve into those characters. So I have to buy the books. So I'm going to have to buy the books. And, so yeah, once I finish off this series, I want to delve into that spin-off series. I want to delve into it because I'm like, nope, I'm invested in these freaking characters and I want to see the end of this series here. And then I want to go and see what happens with those other characters because I'm freaking invested now and I ain't going to anything else right now. Right now it's just Cat and Bones, and then it's going to go in like whatever else is the next, you know, books. That's what I'm invested in. So I'm like, I can't go to anything else right now. Even though I want to go to Kresley Cole's series, The Immortals After Dark. I want to go into that series, but I need to finish off the series first before I even think about going into the Immortals. What was it? Immortals After Dark? Is that what I said? Immortals After Dark? I think that's what it's called. So yeah. And of course, I'm not going to finish up all of those because they're too long, you know. Because I'm going from the beginning. I'm reading from the beginning, and there's some audiobooks that I do have on the, you know, subscribed that I'm using. There's some audiobooks on there, but of course I can't hear them until, you know, it's the 4th because I've reached my limit. Because I don't normally listen to as many audiobooks as I normally do. You know, like if I listen to an audiobook, maybe it's like once or twice a month, so I never go over my limit. But this time I went over my limit because I was so invested in these characters and I just had to go like from one to the other. So yeah, I will update you all later and see if I could try to get through like halfway through this book, and kind of like update from there. And then, or maybe I, you know, once I get through this book, once I get through this book, I delve into the next book. I'll let you know, but it's going to be longer. It's going to be a longer, update. But like I said, I wanted to make this like more of like a 2-week thing. So the updates, this video may be long. It may be long, just like FYI. It may be long, but yeah, I'll update you all. Stop giving me that weird face, child. So I'll update you all later when I don't have children watching me weird. When people watch me while I'm recording, it freaks me out. So I will update you all later. Okay, quick update. So I finished this book. I will say it's sadder than I anticipated. I'll just say there is a trigger warning in here for anybody who decides to read this book. There is a character who, you know, dies of cancer. So, I'm not going to say who, but there is a character who passes away in here. So, that was sad. So there is a trigger warning for that. This was definitely more, I'd say that this was slower paced than the other books in the series. This was mainly just them investigating why there was some recent murders of vampires. And so you end up finding out like who was the cause of it and all that stuff. And also it introduces another new character. And I'm like, okay. I see where this is going. So, yeah, I like this. I would not say I'd give it 5 stars this time. I would probably give this book, because my other books I gave 5 stars. This one I'd say I'd probably give it a solid 4. It was still good. I still enjoyed it. Didn't love it, but I still enjoyed it, you know? So yeah, that one's done, and now I'm off to this one, and this one actually has a step back. So we see that. So yeah, this one here, yeah, I mean, it's them trying to get more downtime and try to have vacation, and then something else happens, you know, so, okay, this one has to do with, like, some type of witch hunter, so, could be good. I think, yeah, that's her cat. She has a cat. I think she calls him Helsing. I think it's Helsing. She calls the cat. So yeah, definitely need to delve into this one now. And so now it makes it to where I only have 2 books left. So I have this one, and then I have the other one. And like I said, the other one has an audiobook, so I definitely am gonna listen to that one. My child's being loud right now. But yeah, once I get through this one, I'm gonna listen to the last book so I can finish off this vlog, because I did not want this vlog to be super long. So yeah, I will update you all later when I finish this book. So talk to you later. Okay, update. So I have not updated for this vlog in like how many days. I took like a tiny bit of break from reading because I wanted to catch up on what I've been doing lately. Is I've been trying not to watch too many videos on YouTube. I'll have, like, I'm obviously subscribed to book channels, but also, you know, subscribe to other things that I think are interesting. So makes it to where I watch a lot of content. This is why I don't really watch a lot of movies or a lot of TV shows anymore. It's because most of my viewing now is pretty much YouTube. So so what I do is on the weekdays, I try to limit the amount of videos that I watch on YouTube, and that way I can physically read my books and then kind of get through them at like a decent pace. Otherwise I can go how many days of like not, you know, reading physically, like not reading a physical book. Like I'll read like a Kindle book. This is why I'm like, I don't have a problem with indie authors, and most of what I read are indie authors, because a lot of the stuff that's traditionally published I'm not really into. Like maybe the stuff that was traditionally published years ago, that's why this series here I'm really enjoying, and as far as I know this was traditionally published. And so this here, I'm still enjoying this series, but I can see the author where maybe she's kind of slowed down on some of the things that Bones and Cat is doing, because you know, like how many things are you going to put them through, you know, kind of thing, you know, before they're kind of like, you're okay with like having them essentially go off into the sunset kind of thing, you know. And so I have it to where, you know, I didn't do anything over the weekend with like reading wise when it came to like the book. So I went and I read a book because it was a short novella. I read a book over the weekend on my Kindle, and then I went and basically caught up on a whole bunch of like YouTube videos that I was behind on. So that's essentially what I did over the weekend. So now this week is basically me buckling down and getting to that physical copy I have. And then once I'm done with that, I'll update you all, and then I'll be moving on to the last book in the Cat and Bones series before it goes off into the spin-off, which I still want to read. But I may go at a more slower pace with those ones because, you know, with here, it's like, I've read like, you know, before I post this, you know, video, once I get done with it, you know, it's going to be like 3 weeks when I started the the vlog. So I've read like, you know, it'll be at the point where I read 7 books within 3 weeks. So to me, it's like, normally I do maybe like, if it's a regular sized book between like 300 to 400 pages, I'm usually doing like, it may take me like a week or so to get through the book. So I was able to get through those 4 books easily because of them they're on audio. So it's easier for you to listen to something while you're going for a walk, or while you're doing the dishes, or maybe you're organizing, you know, things like that. Like, I like to organize my books. I like to, you know, I have to go and do things like do the dishes, or, you know, vacuum, you know, in my apartment, or sweep, or whatever it is, whatever I'm doing to keep my apartment clean, you know. So it's easier to get through like maybe like a 5 or 6 hour audiobook, you know, than it is to physically sit down and read. So this is why people are like, how do you read so fast? That's why, because a lot of the people who are on BookTube, if they have, you know, if this person has continuous content, you know, like Jennifer the Book Refuge, she listens to a lot of her audiobooks, you know, she listens to a lot of audiobooks. She may physically read, you know, something on her Kindle or whatever it is, or physically read with like a physical book she has, but she's able to read at a quicker pace. You can learn to kind of like essentially speed read, where you still can enjoy the book, but you're reading it at a faster pace. There are some people who are able to do that. So that's why she's able to get through like how many books within the week, you know. Some people are able to get through a book quickly, you know, especially if that's really the only thing they got going, you know, like as a hobby. Like, I have other hobbies, you know, like I have other hobbies that I do. Like, if I have an audiobook, it's easy for me to sit down and do my paint by numbers, or be in creative in some other way. And then I can listen to the audiobook at the same time. So I'm able to do my painting, and then listen to the audiobook, you know? So to me, it's like, I'm not using a whole bunch of brain power to do my paint by numbers. I'm just following the directions of what it's showing me, you know? It was funny because I went and I was looking up more paint by numbers so I can go and do more, because I like to do that. It's a nice hobby, and it helps to relax me when I'm feeling kind of stressed out. It's a good stress reliever. And so I was looking up reviews, because this one paint by numbers on Amazon was getting bad reviews, and I'm looking like, why is this getting bad reviews? And the one review was, they didn't like the fact that you have to mix the colors. And I'm like, fucking duh, you know, I'm like, you're doing paint by numbers. They're not going to give you every shade that you need for that kit. So if you need to go and do this part of the paint by number, and it says like A, so if you have to do all the A's, then you have to mix together 1 and 7 or 1 and 6 or whatever it is. You mix those ones together. It's not a big deal if you have a little palette. So if you have like, you know, like one of those little paint palettes, where you can make one if you had the, you know, if you had the material. You could make one. You don't have to buy one. Well, most times you can buy a cheap plastic one. You could probably buy one at the Dollar Tree before you know, that type of thing. You can buy paints at the Dollar Tree. So it's like, okay, buy a palette then, and you mix the colors together. It's not that hard. But people are so freaking lazy today, where they expect every little piece, you know, like, oh, I have to actually mix paint, you know. So to me, I'm just like, oh my God, the generation that's young now, they're all fucked, you know. They're all screwed, you know. Y'all are screwed because you don't know how to fucking do anything, you know. You don't know how to put fucking Legos together. I mean, that's how bad they are. They're so lazy. They don't want to go and put anything together. You know, like my uncle's generation, I guess, is sort of similar to my generation, where I have my one uncle's like only 4 years older than me, and he used to put together like models, you know, like car models and stuff like that, put all the little pieces together. He would have that patience and do it. He goes, nowadays, he goes, if you give a kid a modeling kit to do, they don't want to do it. They want it complete. They want it all complete. They don't want to actually paint it and put the little wheels on the cars and all that stuff. They don't want to do that stuff. Where with me, I like being creative that way because it helps with my stress. It helps to, you know, de-stress me. So I personally like doing that. But I can understand people who don't want to do that. But then you got to find some other hobbies that are going to, you know, help you with stress and stuff. And scrolling through fucking TikTok or whatever else is not going to do it. You know, that's not a healthy, you know, option. So, anyways, I'm kind of babbling at this point. So, basically, that's what I want to do is this week it's kind of like buckling down, watching less YouTube or whatever else is kind of like a distraction for me. Watching less of it, buckling down, and try to get through at least how many chapters within the day. Like today, I'm hoping that when I get home, I can get through at least like 4 or 5 chapters. Hopefully I can, you know. There are times I do get distracted because somebody's yapping my ear off and talking to me, you know. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be doing today when I get home, is basically buckling down, reading how many chapters, since I didn't do any reading over the weekend with the book. You know, I think it's been like 3 or 4 days actually when I think about it. So I want to get back into it because I read like a couple of chapters into the book, so I'm not really that much into it. It's mainly, I think the whole plot of the story is going to be about ghosts. You know, like it's going to be about like this one ghost or something like that is like going after vampires, I think. And it kind of seems like more of a Halloween-ish type book, because I think it's supposed to be like on All Hallows Eve, where this ghost can like materialize and kill off like how many vampires. I think he's supposed to be like a vampire hunter. So that's probably about as much of a plot I want to give to you for this, because I don't want to delve in too much, because then it's pretty much like telling you the whole entire story. And I'd rather, you know, if you haven't read the series, I'd rather you get into it with, you know, as less, you know, description as possible. But that's pretty much, I think, what the whole book's going to be about, is like essentially this former vampire hunter, you know, or bounty hunter, former, you know, whatever it is, hunter, who materializes on All Hallows Eve so he can kill off more, you know, things. Man, you would think like once you're no longer, you know, on this planet, that you'd be able to like rest in peace. But this person's like, you know, All Hallows Eve, they get to run amok and, you know, kill off vampires. So yeah, I think it's kind of And I think, like, you know, the author, she obviously has kind of like slowed down, because before, the other books before, there was like all out fucking wars and shit, you know. So now it's like, instead of them killing off like a bunch of bad vampires, they're basically trying to help protect like the good ones, you know, the ones that are like not bad and don't do like bad things and all that stuff. So I think that's essentially what they're trying to do for like the last books in that series, is do that. So so that's mainly what my update is for now. I'm on the last 2 books, so I'm trying to get through them, you know. But my brain tends to have this where it wants to go off in a different direction. So I'm trying to keep my brain like, you know, on the same course to like, okay, let's finish this. We only got 2 books left. The last book, like I said, is on audiobook, but it's not a graphic audio. It's just a regular audiobook. So it might be a little bit different. I may not enjoy my experience a lot with that audio because I really liked the voiceovers. So we'll see what happens. But I just kind of like want to get through the rest of the series so I can be done with it and say that I read the whole series for this vlog, and then kind of go from there. But that's pretty much all I'm going to update right now, because I'm getting to the point of like traffic and all that shit, and it's going to be loud and you may not hear me and all that stuff. So I will update you all later with the finished book, see how long it takes me to read it, and then I'll be moving on to the audiobook after that, and then it'll pretty much be done with, you know, the vlog from there. So I will update you all later. All right, update. So I ended up finishing this book. I would have to say this is probably the worst book in the series. It was so slow. The plot was so slow. And I'll say, like, there's a content warning in here for talk of sexual assault, because the character in here that comes back on like All Hallows Eve every year, he kills off these perceived witches, you know, whatever he condemns them at, you know. But before he kills these women off every year on All Hallows Eve, he sexually assaults them. Yeah, but he's doing God's work. So yeah, this is where I'm not a fan of like religion, but it's usually there are people who use religion in a way to manipulate other people or hurt other people. That's the biggest thing I have, is when others use it to a sinister way. So this fucker was huge pile of donkey shit. He was a real piece of crap. And so I was not a fan of this. Was not a fan of it. I ended up giving it a 2. I really disliked it. And like I said, with the plot being like very like slow paced, you're dealing with a lot of ghosts in this, and it was just not, I was not a fan of it. It definitely had a different type of tone to it than the other tones, you know, of the other books. Like the other books were more faster paced. They definitely had like a lot going on that was really interesting to the story. This here was very boring and just like almost like the author's like struggling to keep these stories going. And this is where I kind of like have a problem with like some series and stuff, where you'll have an author who they try their best to keep with the same characters, and it's like, nah, go on to something else. Go on to some other characters. Like, if you have ideas for like these characters later on, you know, you're like, oh, I really would like to revisit Bones and Cat and like do a novella, you know, that type of thing. Fans always kind of like that. We're like, oh, we get to see Bones and Cat again, and it's kind of like an extension of like the series. But when you continue on with the series, people can get kind of bored with these characters, so where they don't care if like there's like novellas afterwards. So this one here was definitely my least favorite of the series. I was not a fan of this. That's why I ended up giving it 2 stars, because it didn't work for me. It did not work for me at all. And there was like, you know, the past there was some bad guys. But those bad guys right there were interesting characters. This guy was just sick and disgusting. You know? Just absolutely vile and sick and disgusting. Just... his reasoning was shit. His reasoning was garbage. So, yeah, I was not a fan of that. So the last book is on audiobook. I will say I do like the graphic audio much better than this audio here, because the narrator who's doing the voice of Bones, it's kind of like an American's version of British. We're like, hello, governor, and it's like, So I will say I'm not a fan of the narrator who's doing Bones' voice, because that guy who did Bones' voice in the graphic audio, yeah, he definitely gave off this certain vibe to Bones, to where in this one here, it just kind of makes Bones look weak. And it's like, no, we don't make Bones look weak. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. So, I am enjoying that, though. I will say that. Like, I am on chapter 6 so far with the audiobook. And I will say it has a better pace to it. The pacing is better in the story. The plot is better. It does have a more interesting story, you know, for this one. And I'm glad it's the last one, honestly. But the author, she could have totally just did 4, and then that would have been it. Or even like the 5. Even the 5th book was good. I still enjoyed it. She could have stopped at 5, honestly. 4 or 5, and it would have been good. So yeah, I'm going to continue to listen to this one today, see how far I get. Hopefully I'll be done by like tomorrow, and then I can kind of like update. But before I go, I ended up buying this pink drink from Starbucks. Like, I don't follow James Charles. I don't want to follow a PDF file, you know. I don't want to follow him because I think he's a vile person for, you know, trying to talk to underage boys and stuff like that. We don't do that, no. So I don't particularly like, but he kept promoting this pink drink, which he did not invent. As far as I know, Lady Gaga is the one that came up with this drink. I mean, it's okay, but it kind of tastes like a watered down... It's like a watered down strawberry drink, you know? Maybe because it's got the coconut milk in it, which I'm not really a coconut milk type of person. I don't particularly like it, you know? But that's easier to get down than coconut milk. I'll just say that. Not my favorite Starbucks drink, though. I will say that. I'm not really a big fan of Starbucks. Honestly, it's very, very sugary, you know, stuff. There's other coffee drinks I like better. So, yeah, that's okay. But I don't get the hype. So, anyways, that's about as far as I got for this update like I said, I'm gonna keep listening to the audiobook because I'm also gonna paint. I like to sit down and do my paint by numbers. I'm almost done with another one that I've been doing. And then once I'm done with that one, I can move on. I bought 2 more. I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday, and I bought 2 more like paint by numbers. I like doing those because they're like, they help, like other people may think of it like, oh, that looks stressful. But to me, it's like, I like that type of, artwork. I like to paint. Even if it's complex, even if it's detailed, and a lot of people may be like, so much. I like that. I personally like that. It does help me relax. So that's what I plan on doing is I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and while I'm listening to the audiobook, I can do some painting, and then it kind of like will help pass the time, like how many hours. So I'd say I could be done. I honestly could almost be done with this book either today or tomorrow. I will definitely be done with it quicker because audiobooks go quicker for me. So I definitely am going to do that. So yeah, that's about all I have for this update. I will just say, like, that one there, it does have a better pace. That other one was just not a fan. There were people, I guess, that didn't like book 5. I actually enjoyed book 5. I thought it was pretty good. There were a few issues I had with it, as I said previously. I had a few issues with it, but other than that, I still enjoyed it. I gave it a 4. If I enjoy the book, I may have like a few issues with something, but if I actually enjoyed the book, then I will give it like a 4, because I did still enjoy it, but I didn't love it. I'll just say that. Where that one there, I'm not sure if I actually want to keep this book, one grave at a time. I'm not sure if I'd actually want to keep it because honestly, it's like the way the author does it is sometimes she does give you like a little bit of the backstory from a previous novel. She gives you a little bit in the beginning of the next novel. So that way you're like, you could kind of still remember the plot of like the previous book, So honestly, I think if I got rid of that, I don't think I would miss it. Like if I decided to reread this series like again another time, I don't think I'd be missing anything from that book. If I do decide to keep it, I may just put like little tabs in it just to give me like the little plot points to the story, so that way I can kind of like brush up and remember. But that's probably it. More than likely, I may end up just getting rid of that book. And just keeping the 6 books if I like this one enough. Otherwise, I may end up getting rid of that one too. But I will say, like, the first 5 books were really good. It started, it's starting to drop off now. So once I'm done with that series, then I want to delve into the next one, like that spin-off. But I'm gonna go definitely at a more slower pace, and kind of go from there. I don't think I'm going to do a vlog next month for November. I don't think so. I think I'm pretty much going to be, I think I'm going to be pretty busy next month, like in November, because you got like Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So I think I might be pretty busy. And then also November is kind of like where I do a lot of my Christmas shopping. I don't like to wait last minute. So I don't think I will have time for a vlog in November, but I will consider doing maybe a vlog in December for like, see if I can get my mind in the headspace of doing Christmas books, reading some Christmas books. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to do a vlog in December, but yeah, November, I'm just going to skip over. I'm not going to do a vlog. And then yeah, next year, it's pretty much, I'm going to be doing vlogs whenever I feel like it. So it may be, I may have them some that are every month. I may have some that I skip a couple months. Who knows? It all depends on my mood. But I definitely am going to go at a more mood reading pace and kind of go from there, as I pretty much always do. But I try to like, I try to do things on a TBR, but I'm not always successful because the way my mood reader brain is. So, but yeah, that's the update I have for this one here. I'm going to finish off the book and then I will update you again, and that'll be the last update for this vlog. So I will talk to y'all later. Okay, last update. So I finished off this book here. I will say, like, it kind of like had me tearing up a little bit because there was a reveal in here that I was not expecting at all. And it kind of like changed things around. I will say there was a certain plot point throughout the series between Bones, Cat, and another character. And so I kind of thought it was a little bit convenient that the author chose to go down this certain plot point at the end of this and make it to where these three characters kind of connect. And I'm just like, it was a little too convenient. I'll just say that. It was a little too convenient. And I was like, why? Why did the author need to do that? But I still enjoyed it. So I'm like, I'll give this a 4. I still enjoyed my time with it. But I really am ready to read about Spade. Like, he's another vampire that Bones has known for the years. Like, they've known each other for a very long time. So I definitely want to read Spade's story, and then Mincary's, and then also get into the, after that, it's Vlad's story. So it's like 4 books, you know, but I think all 4 of those books actually are on the audio service, you know, Scribed. I think they're on Scribed. So those can be, I can kind of get through those like fairly quickly. And then Ian, you know what, throughout the series, like, this character of Ian showed up and he knows Bones, and Ian has kind of like, sometimes he's kind of like does something that's really stupid, but then sometimes he does stuff and I'm like, I like him. I'm like, I don't know why, I like him. So I really like the other male characters that were in, you know, the series. I will say though that toward the end, the author almost like wrote out like her mother, you know, like her mother was still around for like the 6th book, you know, you've seen her like barely, she was there like a little bit. And I honestly thought like she was, you know, she is like not a great character, but she kind of like, the way she wrote her is like, you should have had her to where she should like find another love, you know, because she had found somebody and something happened. I'll just say that. And I was like, I feel bad for the mom. Even though I really disliked the mother at the beginning of the series, I did start to sympathize with her on different things that she had gone through, you know. And toward the end of this, I thought it was really interesting because you see like this, the relationship between her mother and her kind of like shifted, and I thought that was really interesting. So I did really appreciate that at the end, but I really am ready to like move on to the other characters, because in here they do like toward the other like last, I think it's the last 3 books. I think it was the last 3 books in this series. They showed that Mincary's was with a lady, and I'm like, okay, so he has a woman now. And then it showed Spade had a woman, and the woman was in the series. And then you had Vlad at the end of this book where he got married. And so I was like, I'm like, honestly, if you start, it's almost like you need to start like the first 3 books of the Night Huntress series. You need to start the first 3 books first. Then you almost need to read the spin-off series so you see what happens with like Spade and his lady and Mencaries and his lady. And then you need to like read the rest of the series. And then I would say you get into Vlad's story and see how he came to, you know, marry his lady, you know. And then after that, you go into Ian's story, you know. Yeah, I almost think like that needs to be like this, you know, the way the story is set up. Because I was like, I want to go back and read, like, I want to read, like, how Spade and his lady came to be and how Mencaries and his lady came to be. And I'm missing something. That's what it kind of felt like a little bit, like I was kind of missing something, but I wanted to finish off this series. So now, you know, I will definitely be reading more of this author in November, because I do want to continue on with like her books. So I definitely will be reading more books in November, so you'll probably see that in November. You know, I'll see like what other stuff that I'm gonna read in November as well, you know, next month. I'll see what I want to read next month that like piques my interest. And then yeah, December is pretty much trying to like motivate myself to like get into like the Christmas spirit and all that stuff and read like Christmas romances and stuff. We'll see what happens, but I definitely want to delve into the next book. That book right there, I think it's called The First Drop of Crimson or something like that. I think that's what it's called. But I'm going to start delving into that one like tomorrow. You know, I'll probably start reading it tomorrow. And then go from there and see how far I get with these books before I kind of like, oh, right, I'm ready to read something else, you know? We'll see. I really wanted to get to Kresley Cole's series. I may end up doing that in November. I may start reading that series, but there's how many books within that series, so I'm gonna see like how many I get to before I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take a break, you know. So we'll see. But right now I'm really on my paranormal kick, and I want to keep chugging along. And as soon as I get to that point where I'm like, all right, I'm burnt out on paranormal, then I can move on to something else. But that's kind of like where I'm feeling it right now is that. So, but yeah, that's it for this vlog here. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself with this. But yeah, this whole series, I really enjoyed it. But I will say, like, the first 4 books were really good. The first 4. The 5th one was still good. Didn't like the 6th book. And I enjoyed the last book, you know. So yeah, I will say, like, I would totally re-listen to those graphic audios again. Like, I want to see, like, if they do come out with, like, a 5th, you know, like the 5th audio. I would love to listen to that, like, for graphic audio. I would love to listen to that. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this video here. Have yourself a good day. Take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and I will see you all on the next video. All right, bye.